Hi, I'm Grady Culhane in the CapeCod.com NewsCenter, joined by a special guest from the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution to talk to us more about Alvin, the manned submersible that is famous for several various expeditions that we're going to talk about today. It's celebrating a special anniversary, its 60th. Andy, do you mind just introducing yourself for our listeners?
Not at all. Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Andy Bowen. I'm a principal engineer at Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution, and I actually am the director of the deep submergence facility, of which Alvin is the jewel in the crown, if you will, of what we operate here on behalf of the ocean science research community.
All right, that's awesome. So I take it you're very involved in this. Are you hands-on kind of in the engineering department, or is your job more like schematics and kind of like planning out the designs and stuff like that? Can you tell us a little bit more about what you do specifically day to day?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, am to a large extent occupied with management of the facility. I started at Woods Hole in 1985, and in those days I was much more of an engineer than perhaps I am today. But the majority of the time that I put into the deep submergence facility, and Alvin in particular, is administrative, but working with our team, looking at the user community who we serve, as well as serving as an interface for the funding agencies, principally the National Science Foundation, who support Alvin.
hmm is there any days you occasionally miss the copper wire and grease and you just want to be able to get right back into it, or are you pretty satisfied with your leadership role as of late?
Yeah, it's a bit of a needle to thread because I know enough about the deep submergence tools and submersibles and robots and that sort of thing, having worked in this field for many years. From time to time, I love to sort of get my fingers dirty, if you will, on the technical part, but I also have to recognize that we have a really talented group of technical people, engineers, pilots, etc. And the last thing they want to hear is, well, I remember 20 years ago, and so on and so forth. So, it's that said, there is a benefit to having so many years of experience and the key is how to thoughtfully deploy that, let's say.
I'm all about it. Resource management is the key to any major leadership role, so that's good to hear. This is obviously focused around Alvin. It's a manned submersible that was first christened at the Hui dock in 1964. So it's its 60th anniversary. Is this kind of like a ship of Theseus situation? Is it still the same Alvin, or have we been updating it over time? Are there new parts? I mean, it's a manned submersible, so I'm sure that safety is key when it comes to how this thing is run. So can you tell us a little bit more about maybe some of the missions and how things might have changed over the decades?
Sure. I think, Alvin as an entity, and your reference to the ship of Theseus is, I think, incredibly apt. Uh, Alvin started life in 1964 as an initiative by the United States Navy to sort of learn how to develop and deploy the technology that was necessary to sort of have command or be active in the world in the world of the deep ocean beyond where typical submarines are able to operate. And so the Navy was very interested in sort of understanding the technology and, as I say, having command over it. As the years have gone on, Alvin transitioned from being a technology sort of development platform for the purposes of the U.S. Navy, and much more of a tool that is beneficial to the broader interests. I think one of the things that the chief of naval research said during his speech in 1964, he likened the art of deep submergence to the skill of being able to read. So if you're able to read, you can read Shakespeare's works, but you can also read an order for war. And I think that Alvin has proven over the many decades to provide insights that are valuable from the Navy's perspective, but also, of course, make a range of really staggering discoveries and help to rewrite the textbooks in several instances.
hmm Andy, we could probably go for like 45 minutes talking more about just the intersection of like military purposes and research purposes and kind of like where the lines get crossed. Because of course, this was 1964. We had the Soviet Union still in effect in the Cold War, so I imagine that a lot of the Navy interest involved a lot of wanting to command the seas in that regard. But from this, we have a new piece of technology that has descended to the wreckage of the RMS Titanic. It's been exploring hydrothermal vents. I have a nice little explanatory piece here telling me a little bit more about these things. I promise I have memorized all of them, unfortunately. But also, it was involved in the response to the 2010 Deepwater Horizon oil spill disaster. So there's been so many interesting things that this has been a part of. Were you also involved in some of those pieces as well? Can you give us some firsthand knowledge about what it's been like to be a part of this program over the years?
Sure. My association with Woods Hole Oceanographic and the Alvin in particular goes back to when I was a young university student, struggling my way through an engineering degree at the University of Rhode Island, and in an effort to raise my grades, decided that I wanted to do an independent project. And my professor was kind enough to open a door at Woods Hole, and I came over and saw the submarine, and that was in 1978. Fast forward a couple of years, and came back to Woods Hole, and through a long circuitous path, ended up joining the institution in 1985. And Of course, Alvin, I think it's fair to say, played a huge role in that. 1985 was the year that the Titanic was discovered with the Argo towed vehicle. And my first project was to get involved in building the Jason Jr. robot, which was taken down to Titanic on the front of the Alvin submersible, and able to be operated from individuals inside the submarine and explore the Titanic in a manner that really was not possible to achieve with the submersible, primarily because of safety concerns.
Hmm. Yeah, so this is, I mean, I'm very interested to hear a little bit more about kind of what the safety stuff has been involved, some of the if there's any kind of changes that have been made over the decades to improve safety. And unfortunately, we kind of are still living in the shadow of the Titan submersible disaster that happened nearby the wreckage of the Titanic. Very unfortunate. Several people were unfortunately killed when the submersible there imploded. Just kind of shows sort of the dangers involved in deep sea exploration. Do you mind elaborating a little bit more on some of the ways you've had to upgrade Alvin or some of the technology that it has spearheaded to make this as safe as possible?
Sure. It's important to recognize that Alvin is a submersible. It's actually owned by the United States Navy, even to this day, and is operated by Woods Hole under an agreement with the U.S. Navy. The systems on the submarine are certified to the Navy rules as part of the SubSafe program. And so we have a very strong, enduring partnership with our colleagues in the Navy at the Naval Sea Systems Command, who manage the SubSafe program under which Alvin fits. And, I think it's fair to say that safety is our primary activity, if you will, in sustaining the Alvin program. Nothing is done without that being very far from our mind. And over the years, we are constantly refining our systems to address issues that, we believe are necessary to either improve safety or to, of course, make the submersible more useful for science.